Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hassan Al Hashim. Inshallah, in this video, I will be talking about the stages of labor. So, in the beginning, what is labor? How can we define labor? Labor can be defined as the presence of strong, regular, painful contractions, and these contractions resulting in a progressive cervical change. Inshallah, I will be talking about these changes in the next slides. My second introduction. What is the onset of labor? Actually, labor is unpredictable for till precisely, but we can predict it by using Nagel's rule. Okay, what is Nagel's rule? It is a formula. By it, we can calculate the approximate day of delivery. So what is this formula? It is the first day of last menstrual period plus 7 days minus 3 months plus 1 year. So just as an example, if we say the first day of last menstrual period was at 8th of September 2020. Okay, so first we added 7 days. It will be at 15th September, it is the 9th month, minus 3, it will be 6, and plus 1 year, it will be 2021. So the predicted day of delivery will be at the 18th of June 2021. Okay, so what is the stages of labor? We have 4 stages. The first stage, then moving to the second stage, third stage, and fourth stage. Okay, we will start with the first stage. The first stage describes the time from the diagnosis of labor to the fully dilation of the cervix. And the fully dilated cervix will be 10 centimeters. So here in the first stage, as I said in the beginning, it will be a cervical changes during labor. So as we see here, the cervix is thick. So the first changes the cervix will be effacement. What I mean by effacement, that the thick cervix again will be thin. Okay, and dilation. What I mean by dilation, dilation meaning is open. As we see here, the cervix is thick, then it will be thin and slightly dilated, slightly open by 1 centimeter. And in the end of the first stage, it will be fully dilated, fully open by 10 centimeter. Okay, in the first stage, we have 2 phases, the latent phase and the active phase. What is the difference between these 2 phases? First, the latent phase is the time between the onset of the first regular painful contraction till this 5 to 6 centimeter cervical dilation. In the first or in the latent phase, it characterized by gradual cervical changes, and the time approximately for the latent phase in nulliparous women will be 18 hours, and in the multiparous woman will be 12 hours. Okay, the active phase, we can define it as the time between the end of the latent phase, when the latent phase ends, as we said, when the cervix opened by 6 or 5 centimeter. So in the beginning of active phase, when the latent phase is end by 5 or 6 centimeter dilation, and the active phase end by fully cervix dilation at 10 centimeter. And the active phase characterized by rapid cervical changes. And the time for this phase is approximately 2 hours in both nulliparous and multiparous women. Okay, moving forward for second stage. Second stage begins with fully dilated cervix, as we said, 10 centimeter, and ends with the delivery of the fetus. And the time of second stage is less than 2 hours in nulliparous women and less than 1 hour in multiparous women. So in the second stage, there is a movement. It's called cardinal movement of labor. What are these movements? We have 7 movements, starting with engagement, then descent, flexion, internal rotation, extension, external rotation and resistation, and expulsion. So what are these movements? Starting with engagement. Engagement occur when the largest diameter of fetal head fits into the largest diameter of the maternal pelvis. Moving to the second movement, the descent. When the baby descends through the pelvic inlet into the pelvic floor, it's called descent, and descents occur as a result of uterine contraction, the abdominal muscles contraction, and the amniotic fluid pressure. Moving to the third movement, the flexion, when the fetal head comes into contact with the pelvic floor, the cervical flexion occurs. And this allows in this movement, this allows the presenting part of the fetus to be suboccipito-pragmatic. Okay, moving to the next movement, the internal rotation. Here the pelvic floor, as we see, have a forward and downward slip, and this allows the head of the fetus to rotate from this position, which is called the occipito-transverse position, to the occipito-anterior position. Then moving forward for the extension, here the occiput slips beneath the suprapubic arch as the head extends, and the nape of the neck is bovating against the arch. Okay, and extension of the head causes stretching of the perineum. Moving forward to the external rotation and resuscitation, here the head of the fetus, as we see here, externally rotates to face the right or left medial thigh of the mother, and in the same time the shoulders rotating from the transverse position to the anterior posterior position, and this realignment of the shoulders and the head of the baby called resuscitation. Okay, and finally the expulsion of the fetus occur. The third stage of labor, this extends from the time of expulsion of the fetus to the expulsion of the placenta. And the third stage, the time of it is less than 30 minutes. Is less than 30 minutes. Finally, the fourth stage, it is defined as the hour or two after the placenta expulsion, when the uterus regains its tone and begins the process of ovulation. Okay, so as a summary for this video, uh, as a summary for the stages of labor, the first stage is the time from the diagnosis of the first labor contraction to the fully dilation of the cervix, 10 centimeter. Then the second stage is the time when The cervix is fully dilated to the ends of the delivery of the fetus. Then the third stage is the time of expulsion of the fetus placenta. And finally, the fourth stage, which is the time when the uterus regains its tone and begins the process of ovulation. So here is my references. And if you have any question, here's my email. And thank you for listening.